Mike Radich here, and I'm now joined on the phone by Legacy FC Flyweight Matt Danger Schnell. Matt, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Sure, no problem. Thanks for doing it. Matt, before we start talking about your upcoming fight on June 26th, let's talk about your last fight. Your last fight took place on May 29th, and the event you fought on was Legacy Kickboxing 2, but you fought under MMA rules against Albert Tapia, and you won that fight by second-round submission via armbar. I'm just curious, how pleased were you with your performance in the fight?
I'm my own biggest critic, so looking back at the fight, I'll nitpick it to death. But I did some good things. I felt like I was active. I was overall pretty satisfied with the performance. It was nice fighting in the ring. I really felt like it helped me with my striking and with my range, and I enjoyed it. It was a great fight. Not my best performance, but they'll get better, and I felt comfortable in there, and I think that's the biggest thing I took away from it.
Mm-hmm. Just curious, what didn't you like about your fight?
I thought I waited maybe a little too much. I think if I would have just gone out there and pulled the trigger on him, I probably could have finished him quicker. He was a step behind on the feet, I felt, and if I would have just ripped some hard shots, I probably would have hit him with something. But I was patient. I let the fight play out, and luckily it played out in my favor.
Now, talk me through the finish, because at one point in the fight, you had him in the corner, you guys were in like a little bit of a weird position, and then all of a sudden he turned over and you were able to lock on the armbar. Talk me through the stoppage of the fight.
Yeah, it was strange because I turned the armbar quick, and I had a good angle on it, but I think in that instance, the ring actually wasn't good for me. If I was in the middle of the ring, I would have snatched his arm off, but since I was kind of wrapped up in the ropes, I think even when I turned the armbar, my foot may have even hooked the rope. So it was just kind of funky. So we sat in that position for a little while. He was fighting. He was obviously aware that he was in an armbar, and I was just patient with it, and he didn't even actually tap. He actually verbally submitted by yelling. He said, tap, 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 tap. I cranked the armbar, but it was strange, but we'll take it. Shoot.
Right. Now, how many rings have you fought in during your career? Was this the first time?
First time. That was my 23rd MMA fight of my career, and that was the first time I've ever fought in a ring. I've boxed and I've kickboxed in rings, but I've never fought an MMA fight in a ring.
Mm. And do you have a preference now, either way, ring, cage?
Honestly, I don't know. I felt because I was probably a step ahead on the feet, it worked out in my favor. But I like the cage because I complete a lot of takedowns off the cage. That's where if I'm going to get a takedown, it's probably going to be up against the fence. So the ropes were similar. There was still a good amount of resistance, but I felt as if a cage would definitely be more beneficial if I had to grapple more in a fight. So I liked it either way, though. I would be willing to. I'd be willing to fight in a ring again for sure.
Was this a short notice fight? Because the fight, it kind of flew under the radar. You know, there wasn't a lot of people talking about it. It was on the non-televised portion of the card, and obviously it took place on like a hybrid show where there were kickboxing matches and MMA fights. So I'm just curious, how much notice did you have for this fight? Because I really didn't know about this until fight night.
Yeah, no, it was in my hometown. It was Legacy. It was a kickboxing event, and they actually asked me if I wanted to kickbox on the show. But you know, the goal right now is to rack up wins on my MMA record and stay busy there. So I fought an MMA fight. I chose to fight an MMA fight on the undercard, and I guess it flew under the radar just because it was on the undercard. I don't know, but I had a full camp for that fight with full intentions of fighting June 26th, which would be 4 weeks later from that fight. So I knew, and I've been preparing for it. So I had a full camp.
You're fighting out of American Top Team in Coconut Creek, Florida. I'm just curious, how long have you been training there?
I guess it was a year in March that I've been training at American Top Team now. It's been a great experience ever since I've gotten here. They've treated me like family. I love the gym, so it's. I think it's definitely changed a lot in my game, and I'm excited to continue to showcase my progress.
Are you living full-time in Florida now, or do you just do your camps there?
I've been camping pretty much for the last, since I've gotten ready for this fight, I had a fight in February, so it seems like I've been pretty busy this year already. I've kind of just kept training on through. So I live here, but I travel quite a bit. My girlfriend lives in St. Louis, so every once in a while I'll go up there and visit her. And I'm out from Louisiana, so anytime I can get back to Louisiana, it's always good. But I'm kind of in between the three for the most part all week, especially for the last 3-4 months I've been here full time.
Mm-hmm. I'm just curious, Matt, why did you decide to leave your old gym, Gladiators Academy? Is it because at that gym they just don't have the bodies that you need to be working with? Is it something where you've kind of outgrown that gym and they don't have the high-level guys for you to work with? Or is it something where sometimes you just need to change it up? Sometimes you need a change of scenery and you need to go out there and see what the rest of the world has to offer. I'm just curious, why did you decide to leave your old gym?
Gladiators, first I want to say, the instruction there is unbelievable. I think the bodies was the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing I was thinking in my mind, because there's great kickboxing coaches at Gladiators Academy. Tim Crater is a world-class black belt in jiu-jitsu, as well as fought in the UFC, has had some success, is a well-respected coach. Then there's multiple black belts on the mat over there, so there's good jiu-jitsu. I think what I was in search for was wrestling and more bodies. And Dustin Poirier was training out here, and he invited me to come, and I came out. I tried it. This was probably February of 2014, and then I came back home and was like, I need to move out there, and that's what I did. So, it's been here ever since, and I'm ATT all the way,
Were there any other gyms you were thinking about going to and making that your full-time gym, or was it something where you weren't really looking for a gym, you just went down to American Top Team and you fell in love with it and you're like, okay, I just need to move?
Yeah, I wanted to try something new. I wasn't anticipating moving at all. I had a good situation in Lafayette. I had a job that was paying me, and I was fighting, and I was pretty active, and I had a decent gym, but I went to American looking myself in the mirror and saying that I was taking this seriously without really taking it seriously. And I felt that American Top Team could provide me with what it took to get to the next level, which is not just training, but the atmosphere. And it just felt right. When I came to ATT, everybody was really friendly. The coaches were really receptive, and everything felt right. So I, on a whim, made the decision, and my girlfriend wasn't very happy about it, but we're still trying to make everything work out. So
right,
good.
Right. At a gym like American Top Team with so many great fighters, you really have no other choice but to get better, right?
Absolutely. You sink or you swim. That's the only thing you can do. It's a mat full of murderers out there. So you gotta get in where you fit in.
Just curious, because I've been watching this season of The Ultimate Fighter, and I've noticed that American Top Team has a ton of coaches, so I'm just curious, who are the main coaches that work with you?
Mike Brown, Conan, Silvero, they do a good job of separating. We work with all the coaches. My kickboxing coach, the guy I have private lessons with, and I go to most of his classes, is Steve Bruno, and he's made appearances on the show. He's a high-level kickboxing coach. But I go to Tommy's classes. He's the wrestling coach, and Mike Brown and Conan usually are the ones watching me spar. And so I get a taste of everybody. The jiu-jitsu coach, I work with him once a week too. So It's one of those things. They do a good job of kind of delegating who gets to work with who. We get work.
ATT has a lot of affiliates. They have a lot of gyms in Florida. I'm just curious, have you ventured outside? Have you went to any of the other affiliates?
No, I train at the headquarters when I'm in Florida. Now, when I go to St. Louis to visit my girlfriend, Tyron Woodley has a gym. Right. It's half a mile away from where my girlfriend lives, so I walk to the gym some days. It's great to be able to go see her and still train out there, but that's the only affiliate that I've had any experience with. Everybody else, I train at the headquarters. And when people ask me about other affiliates, I know nothing about them. They're just at their affiliates, and they really don't, we don't have anything to do with them other than the name's the same. So I train at the headquarters. That's where I train.
Okay. Just curious, what's your girlfriend doing in Missouri?
She is a nurse. She's a really smart girl, beautiful, loves me. I don't know why, but she sure does. And she's a nurse. She took a job in Missouri. Just had a great opportunity to work at a hospital, doing exactly what she wanted to do. So she kind of gave me the freedom when I decided to move out here, and she kind of took the same type of initiative and was like, well, this is a good opportunity for me. And we work it out, we try to make it work. But it's difficult, obviously, but we're in love, so it's good.
Now, I'm trying to think back to the show, obviously MTV Cage. Is this the same girl?
No, not the same girl.
Oh, okay. Whatever happened to her? Just out of curiosity.
I'm not sure. She's living her life, we don't really talk much anymore.
Okay. Anyways, back to fighting. Who's going to be cornering you for this fight?
It will be Christian Fulgham and probably Tim Crater. My people in Louisiana are already out there. Anytime I can save the company money, I try to do it. Dustin's busy that weekend. If they could have flown Dustin in, it would have been Dustin and Christian and Tim. But since Tim and Christian are already out there, I'm just going to go ahead and let those guys corner me. I've worked with Christian so much. A lot of people, they would be put off by that. Like, well, wouldn't you want to work with the coaches you work with all the time? And it's true, but, Tim and Christian, they've watched me grow from not knowing anything about fighting. They know me very well, and I'm very comfortable with those guys in my corner. So I have no doubt that everything's gonna. Yeah, I would fly out a cornerman if I really thought I needed him, but I trust those guys with my career and my life. So they'll be cornering me.
Mm-hmm. I'm just curious because you're having guys corner you that aren't currently in the gym with you. Leading up to this fight, are they studying tape? Are they, sending you stuff like, hey, look at this, or I think, if we do this, that would work against him? Are they giving you feedback? Are you in contact with them?
We stay in touch for sure. And soon I've changed opponents on this fight. This is my third opponent now, so every time I've let them know. I've discussed with them the matchup, and I'm close with these guys, so everything, we're on the same page with everything.
Mm-hmm. Right now, you're doing really well. You're 4-0 in your last 4 fights, 3 stoppages in the first round, 4 stoppages total. I'm just curious, what's been the biggest change for you? Has it been joining American Top Team? Is that the biggest thing that's different about you from earlier years, or is it something where you're just getting more comfortable in there, more experience? Go ahead.
Yeah, I think I'm just coming into my own a little bit. Fighting more actively helps me. I'm the type of guy who operates better when he's on a streak and when he's hot. And I used to not believe in things like cage refs, but I felt it. I know what it's like to be in there and not feel comfortable. So I'm definitely a lot more comfortable now. I feel like I belong in the cage or the ring or whatever it may be. I feel like I belong in there. So I'm just more comfortable. I think that's the biggest thing.
Mm-hmm. When you came off of the show MTV Caged, there were a lot of people who were very, very high on you. A lot of people saw the potential that you had, and a lot of people were expecting big things. At this stage, a lot of people thought you would already be in the UFC, you'd already been making a run in that organization. I'm just curious, when you got off that show, were the expectations too high?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was very green. I fought a lot of fights, and I did well because I was athletic, and I could throw a big, hard right hand, but I'm still filling in the gaps. I'm still relatively new. I'm 20-something fights into this, and I learn something new every day. And that's a byproduct of obviously training at a high-level gym, but also I think I have a lot of holes to fill. Not that I'm not good, I am, but I'm only going to continue to get better. I'm still very young in this sport, and I'm excited to see how things turn out in the future. But the expectations definitely were a little high, and I don't think the show hurt me in any way, but it definitely put me out there where people were like, all right, well, this kid's going straight to the UFC. When in reality, I needed these last 2 or 3 years. Everything that's happened in my career to this point has happened for a reason, and I think it's my time. And I don't know. I always think it's my time, and I'm just ready to get it.
Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, the perception of pressure is going to be different on my side of the table because I'm not you, but I'm just curious, has the pressure leveled off? Because, when you were coming out of that show and you won your first couple fights, everyone was, okay, this guy, he's going to be, the next big thing, and, a lot of pressure was on you to win those fights. So I'm just curious, now that you've been in the sport for a little while and you've suffered losses and you're growing and you've fought on the regional circuit for a while now, has the pressure leveled off?
I think so. But I hold myself to the highest standards of anybody else, so I expect a lot out of myself. And the biggest thing is just remembering to have fun out there. And I think that's been also the difference in the last few fights. Even if you look at my facial expressions while I fight, I'm comfortable, I'm relaxed, I'm thinking, and that's the way I need to do things. So I think also that's been a big part of relieving the pressure off of myself, taking it one fight at a time, and trying not to cook myself before I even get in there.
Right. You're a young guy, only 25 years old. You've only been a pro since September of 2012. So I'm just curious, 3 years into your MMA run, when you left that show and turned pro, where did you think you'd be 3 years into it?
Well, I was riding high, and I thought a lot of myself at that time. Mm-hmm. So if you would ask me then, I probably would have been like, yeah, I'll be in the UFC whipping guy.
Right.
But it's just, like I said, everything's happened for a reason, and as you grow, you learn and you get more humble, and this sport, if nothing else, has to keep you humble. If it doesn't, you're not a very smart person, because it'll break you down. And I've watched dudes get their dreams crushed, and I just refuse to be that guy. But definitely, it's come full circle. The expectations I had for myself then have definitely not translated. But, we take it one day at a time, and I'm happy where I am.
Right. Now, do you think you've outgrown that show? Like, at one point in time, you were a guy on a reality show who fights, but I think you've become a guy who fights who just happened to be on a reality show at one point in time. Would you agree? Do you think you've outgrown that show?
Yeah. I outgrown. Yeah, I don't know if that's necessarily the right vocabulary,
right.
But I don't think when I get introduced to people, I'm not like, hey, I'm Matt Schnell, I was on that TV show, So that's definitely not what defines me anymore, and I'm happy about that. But here soon, I am going to be Matt Schnell, that guy beating up guys in the UFC. So I'm excited to move on to that chapter of my life.
On June 26th at Legacy FC 42, you're going to be fighting Vanderlei Leite. What are your thoughts about him as an opponent?
I don't know much about him. He's a Brazilian guy. Probably, I've seen a little film, which we saw one video, and he looks to be pretty wild, pretty good on the ground, transitions well on top, has good jiu-jitsu, wild on his feet, throws spinning crazy stuff. I kind of know what to expect. That's what's great about training at an American Top Team. I run into different types of guys all the time, so I feel like I can kind of look at what he does on film, and I know what to expect. And that fight was years ago, so he's probably improved, but we'll see. There's some things that you don't shake even after 2 years. He's going to be wild. He's going to be throwing crazy techniques. But I'm excited. I'm excited to fight a Brazilian, for one, just because of their culture, and they're known as a good fighting culture. And I'm excited to test myself against that. And we'll see how it turns out. We'll see.
You said earlier that he's the third opponent you've been paired up with. So I'm just curious, who were the first two? I know of Cody Williams. You were scheduled
Cody Williams was the first, and then it was a guy named Eric Moel, guy from Ohio, I think, 5'3", little scrappy grappler, wrestler type guy, and then this kid. So he's the third. Has
your training changed at all with the opponent changes, or do you really not worry too much about your opponents?
No, I try to just, training is preparation for my body, and when I'm working techniques and things, my technique classes, like when we worked a little more submission defense. Since Cody Williams, we were kind of worried more about let's be light on our feet, let's not take much punishment. So my techniques have changed, but as far as sparring and everything goes, nothing has changed. We're still doing the same thing.
Now, obviously, your short-term plan is to get a win on June 26th, but
Yeah.
The next step, what do you think makes sense for you? Is it a title fight in Legacy? Is it a call to the UFC? You know, what do you think is the next step should you get a win? Because if you get a win here, that's 5 in a row.
First off, I'd like to say I'll definitely be getting a win, and that's all I can really think about right now. So whatever's next, I know Legacy has talked about keeping me a little busier, so as far as the UFC goes and things like that, a boy can dream, you know. That's definitely always in the back of my mind. But we're taking it one fight at a time right now, and I'm trying to be smart with this. And I'm being offered fights left and right, so we're going to have to go back to the drawing board, talk to my coaching staff, talk to the guys who are close to me, and see what's next from there. But I'm not trying to jump the gun. June 26th, I got a whipping to hand out.
Now, Matt, we'll end on this. It's a little segment I like to call Really Random. That's where I ask you a random question, and you give me the real answer. Some of these questions are custom-made just for you, and some of them are just generic ones that I ask everyone. So, first one, here we go. Superpower you'd love to have?
X-ray vision. Easy.
Favorite movie?
Oh, man. Forrest Gump. Come on.
Movie you've seen the most times?
The Patriot. Mel Gibson. It's a classic.
Who's your celebrity crush?
Scarlett Johansson.
Are you a full-time fighter or do you work a second job?
I am a full-time fighter as of right now. I had a job, but I don't anymore.
You were supposed to have a fight for Titan FC. It was going to be a rematch against Elise Garcia. I'm just curious, what exactly happened with Titan FC? Because all of a sudden we think you're signed with Titan, but then you're back fighting with Legacy. So what exactly happened with Titan?
Right. No, the deal with Titan was always untelevised, and we had discussed it with Legacy. So I've been under contract with Legacy. So that deal in itself had been discussed between the two, and it was okay. As long as I wasn't fighting on a televised portion, it was fine to fight. So the Titan thing was only a one-time thing, not to say that I wouldn't work with Titan again, because I certainly would. But I had a complication. I fought, again, 4 weeks before that fight. I've been trying to string them together. So I'm sure you can tell by just looking at my record. I've fought a few in a row, and I just had a complication with my weight cut in Houma, Louisiana, and I didn't even realize it until after the fight. I got a quick finish. I guillotined the guy in like 17 seconds, but I was dealing with an infection that I had gotten from the weight cut that had come from other complications, and it got pretty bad quickly. So I was on antibiotics for 2 weeks there, and got back to training, got back to full health, but I just didn't see the point in risking, fighting on a big stage and risking it when I wasn't feeling great. I definitely wasn't 100%. Probably wasn't even 50%.
Is that a fight that still interests you? Because it's still out there. He's a guy who has...
Of course. All these fights interest me, but very different variables play into it, of course. That's definitely a fight that I'm still interested in.
Okay.
And I wish him the best. The thing that was disappointing to me about that, and I just want to get this clear, is we backed out of the fight. They had 3 weeks' notice, not only because my biggest thing was I didn't want the kid to not have an opponent. If I was going to back out, the first thing I said was to my manager was, could we get him another opponent? And he's a matchmaker down south. He knows he has millions of contacts of fighters. So not only did we back out, but we offered to match him with a new opponent. My management did, because we felt bad about the back out. And they scratched this fight altogether. And I still feel a little guilty about that, because the kid probably deserved to go out there and compete, and it just happened that way. But that's the deal.
Now, the show you were on, Caged, I'm going to try to keep these questions to a minimum, because I know you've asked pretty much everyone under the sun, but I'm just curious.
The good thing is I've got answers to them all.
Okay.
Already.
Do you keep in contact with anyone from that show? And what I mean by that is the main cast members, Daniel, Wesley, Tony, those guys, do you keep in contact with any of them?
Wesley was actually at my last fight. Me and Tony, we're pretty close. We've lived together and trained together for a long time, so we definitely keep in contact still. Anytime I see Daniel, we're always cordial, but we don't really keep in contact. So besides Tony, and I saw Wes at my last fight, I don't really talk to any of them. No.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, you're fighting. Obviously, Tony fights. What about those other two guys? Are they pursuing this as a career?
No, they're not. They're not. I think Daniel's got a job. Wesley's got a job, and they're doing their own thing. They're both intelligent, hardworking, good guys. So they've decided to take their lives in another direction, which I definitely don't blame them. If I was smart, I probably would have done the same thing. But I'm a boy. I got these boyish dreams to chase.
Right. Right. Now on the show, it was documented for one of your weight cuts. You had a very difficult time making the weight. Since then, have you had any close calls making weight?
It's always difficult to make the weight, and the thing on the show was it was always confusing. We were always confused on what we had to weigh in at because we fought 5 times in 5 months. So a lot of times they were catch weights, and they were this, and they were that, and a few times I thought we were weighing in at one weight, and then the night before they're like, no, you got to make this weight. So that's what made that more difficult on me. When I have enough time, I make weight. I've gotten a system to where it's never fun. It's always hard. I'm a big 25er, but I make weight, and I'm really not looking forward to it this next time either. But I'll make it. But the weight cut's difficult. But what was the question again exactly? I'm sorry.
Oh, the question was, have you had any close calls like that before where you had to do something like shave your legs or something like that?
Yeah, every single time it's a close call, it seems like. The weight's hard to make,
Okay. I was just curious about that. Now, American Top Team obviously is on the current season of The Ultimate Fighter. I'm just curious if that was the route you had to take to be in the UFC, going on that show. Would you be interested in doing that, or are you done with reality TV?
No, absolutely. I think I've done TV before, and I would be good at it. So they should. I mean, if they were going to do it, they would definitely have to include me. But I would rather get in organically, obviously. But I would certainly, and to represent American Top Team on a nationally televised show, The Ultimate Fighter, that'd be a dream come true. So absolutely, no question.
If you found a magic lamp and you rubbed that magic lamp and a genie appeared and the genie told you that he was going to grant you 3 wishes, what would those 3 wishes be?
I would wish, number one, I would want my body to be completely healed, 100%, and unable to break down. That would be number one. Then a lot of money, of course, would have to have that. And I'd probably keep the other one around for a rainy day just in case I needed it. Would that be an option?
Nice. Yeah, I like it. No one's come up with that yet.
Lamp with me, yeah.
I like it. Person you look up to the most?
My mother.
What's the best thing that ever happened to you?
Shoot. I met my girlfriend.
What's the worst thing that's ever happened to you?
Worst thing that ever happened to me? I don't know. What's terrible is when I fly, if I get stuck. And like when I was 16, I got stuck in Chicago not too long ago. Again, got stuck in Chicago. And those were probably 2 pretty bad days.
Time travel or space travel?
Time travel. Space is too vast. Like time, I could at least control, if what point in time I wanted to go to, I could probably go back, and time travel definitely, no doubt.
Best advice you ever got through life and best advice you ever got through fighting, and who gave it to you?
Shoot. I mean, for fighting, it would be simple. My first instructor just pretty much told me, go out there and fight. Yeah, nobody's going to kill you out there, so go do it. So that was probably Brent Mason taught that. And I don't really know about the best advice in life. I'm not exactly sure.
Okay. What's your hidden talent?
Hidden talent? I'm pretty good at arithmetic, just math, off the top of my head. Usually pretty good at that.
Number one thing on your bucket list?
I want to fight in the UFC. That's all I can really see right now.
What do you worry about? What's something that keeps you up at night?
Of course, finances. Shoot.
If you could change one thing about the world, what would you change?
I wish people could just have a sense of humor, I think, and just laugh more things off instead of taking everything so serious.
Last question. If you weren't fighting, you would be doing what?
I wasn't fighting. I would probably be working a job somewhere. Maybe, I don't know. I'd be doing something, providing for myself.
Matt, real quick before I let you go, do you have any sponsors you'd like to thank, and is there anything you'd like to say to the fans?
Yeah, I mean, go check me out. I'm fighting next weekend. I've worked really hard for this, obviously. Special thanks to all my sponsors. I think Dynamic Fastener sponsored me for this one. GLC, First Round Management, all the guys at American Top Team, all my training partners, thank you very much. I'm just going to keep grinding, and I'm excited for what the future holds.
Matt, thank you for taking the time to talk. I really appreciate it. Good luck June 26th at Legacy FC 42 against Vanderlei Leite.
Yes, sir. Thanks a lot for having me.